Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Sonia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I can hear you clearly too.
Oh, good, good.
Well, welcome. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy woman lately, so yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I know. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, our pleasure. So, yes, my other member is having some technical difficulties, so we're gonna try it on my end. Hopefully, everything goes well and it records.
All right, I understand. I understand.
Oh gosh. Well, this is Discover Yourself, and I'm Yana. So, and Kareem is the other member that's not going to be here tonight. But we are a group of just young-minded folks that originally got together because of our good old friend Lynn and Honor. So,
Okay.
yeah, and we decided to take it another step and make our gatherings public and invite people like yourself to come and just spread the wealth, wisdom, and towards helping us become our greatest version and discovering who we truly are. So that's what we're all about. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I wanted to talk to you about the latest documentary, which I'm super excited about because I'm trying to have it showcased here in Oklahoma City.
Oh, it sounds good.
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of networking and stuff, and I feel it's really important.
Yeah. It's definitely. People are really loving the film. I mean, more than I sounds, I guess, funny for some people when I say that, but yeah, no, I couldn't tell you whether people were going to like it or not until it's been shown. So, I mean, what I'm hearing is, thank you for making this film. It was so necessary. We think this film should be seen by everybody. So it's been a lot of that, and the film, of course, premiered last Saturday, the 15th. It premiered here at the Lamley Theater in North Hollywood, and we had over 200 people there. So it was really very exciting to see the response.
Wow. No, I'm just getting like the energy like from what everybody's saying about it, those that, have seen it or those, your work, and I'm working super hard to get it here because I believe, in the message in your body being your greatest healer. So I am psyched to get it here. It'll be here eventually.
Yeah, it will. It totally will.
And so this process took you close to 2 years.
No, it actually took me longer. It was like 3.5. Well, it's got to be three and a half years, more than a little over 3.5 years. I'm gonna say from conception, from the thought to the finished product.
Okay.
So it and I guess that's not unusual for films, from what I'm understanding. People have said that it's taken them 10 years. So it's definitely a process.
Well, tell us a little bit about that process, because I know it's like I don't know if it feels like to you like if you've given birth to something, but
yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, I felt like I was pregnant for like a long time, like 3.5-year pregnancy, and you're just hoping that you're good. Today is the day you're gonna give birth, and then it gets postponed, and then you don't, and you're ready to induce labor. So it was definitely that feeling of, oh my God, I'm just over it. So you go through those moments where you're just like, I am so over this right now, and then you come back to the drawing board, and it does require one to be patient, I guess, and one to stick to whatever it is. You just gotta push through.
Yeah.
So it definitely was like that. It's like you can't picture the day when you actually say it's done, because every time you think it's done, you have to go back, because now you find out that there's something that needs to be edited again, fixing, and it's changing all the time. It's just ongoing, till that day when you just say, okay, this is what it is. I'm done. This is it.
No, I know exactly what you mean, because I had seen it like last year, little snippets, and of you mentioning the business of disease. I'm like, oh, when is it? When is it coming? Like, is it here? And then when I finally saw it, I was like, wait a minute, I thought it already came out.
Yeah, no,
but it was in the process.
It was in the process.
Wow.
But then again, it started out as something where I did not plan for it to be what it has become. I thought it was just going to be like a little YouTube video, sort of, at first. I mean, that was my thinking. Oh, I'll just interview a few people, and then it starts to just turn into this other thing, and then it just, just kind of before you know it, it just takes off on its own into shaping itself into this something much bigger. So that was definitely, it was definitely interesting to go through that entire experience and to see it on a big screen. And I tell you, anybody who ever sees it on DVD, man, I tell you, you got to see it on a big screen when it does come to whatever area. You really should see it on a theater screen.
Yeah.
It's that, and people who have seen it, who saw it before when I screened it at the retreat that I did in August, and the couple of the people who had seen, the preview of it online, they said the same thing when they saw it on the screen. It's like, oh my God, yeah, you have to see it there. It was really good.
It's a different type of response. And
well, yeah, it's just all the little, just things just kind of pop out. It's just to see the vibrancy of it. And then, Mark Savage, who came along and did the final editing of the film, and, we sat together. So I directed the editing, but his skills I definitely used, and he is really just excellent. But and he came along, and because of him and his skills, we see the final product. So it's it's definitely whatever the images and so on and so forth. They just pop out on a bigger screen.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And
so
graphics.
Now, I hope y'all come down here, good old Oklahoma.
We want to come down. We want to come everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to.
Well, you said it took you about over 3 years. I wanted to know what your original concept was for this documentary. Like, where did you start, and what was your vision for it?
As I said, I thought it was just going to be maybe like a YouTube video. I did an article called "The Marketing of Breast Cancer: The Pink Ribbon Agenda," which is really what started it. It was just my observation of everything, the marketing of, questioning, but the marketing of illness. I just really started looking at it even more, and it was just happened to be the month of October, which is Breast Cancer Supposedly Awareness Month, but I didn't know that's what it was. I just kept seeing, all this pink ribbon, and people asking to donate to the cause, and I just thought it was just like an overwhelming amount of this stuff, but I still didn't realize it was, Breast Cancer Month. And so that's when I wrote the article. So it began during that particular month, and just kind of went from there. And I thought, okay, people loved the article. It just made its way all around the internet, and people can read that article on thebusinessofdisease.com. It's, it says breast cancer awareness, the marketing of breast cancer, the pink ribbon agenda, and it's on that website. And the responses, I also had put up the responses from people who even had breast cancer and had breasts removed. They responded in a very favorable way, and they agreed that they were also tired of the overdose of marketing. So, I mean, I was just kind of shocked. I thought, oh boy, I'm going to step on a lot of toes here in this article. And it really wasn't like that. It wasn't. And then there were people that were saying, oh my God, I am so glad you said it because I felt that way, but I didn't want to say anything. So it outed like a lot of people who quietly felt like that, but they didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to offend anyone. But then I guess since I'm kind of like that where I just go ahead and say what I feel. I just wasn't thinking, whatever. I just put it out there. So it went from there, and that's when I said, maybe I should put together like a little video, interview a couple of people, and so it actually was. I think the title had, maybe it was the breast cancer. Maybe it was the pink ribbon agenda or something. So the title was even different.
Wow.
And it seemed like it was more focusing on that, and then it totally changed, and it just became just an overall observation of the marketing of disease, and I wanted to sort of see how it impacted, how the marketing was impacting human beings, in general, our brains. How were we responding to the symbols that we see around us, specifically though the pink ribbon. Every time people see pink, I know women now. I ask that in audiences, and everybody shakes their head. I say, every time you see pink now, right, and pink and a pink ribbon, you automatically know what that is, and they shake their head. I say that's coding. I mean, that's pink, and they have pink ribbon Barbie. They had that, and I thought, oh my God, that and toilet paper with pink ribbons on there, and the NFL store with a bunch of pink items, and I don't know. I just looked on, and it was just all seeming a little trendy, and turning breast cancer or cancer into like catching a cold, an acceptable thing. Anyway, so that's kind of where that started and ended up with where we are right now.
Wow. And I must say, I was one of the ones, when I read that article, I'm like, yes, somebody's putting it into words, what I've been feeling, not just with that, but they have one for other types of diseases that they do walks and they do all this extravaganza. And I'm like, why marinate in it,
Yeah.
So I like that article.
Well, the whole thing started to get so trendy, and I don't know, just the whole thing. When if a person were to really step back and just really observe, just really let themselves observe, they would see, if they didn't see it before, they would see what we're talking about. That this stuff is really marketed, and we've got celebrities who are making it okay. They're showing you these celebrities. It's like, this person has cancer, that person has breast cancer, or whatever the case may be, and just turning it into this whole other thing. And we love celebrities, and we look up to celebrities, and it's just this whole psychological thing in our response to celebrities, and the fact that they make certain things okay. If they're doing it, or they're going through it, then it's okay.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, when they bring in the celebrities or whoever is like really popular out there, I just feel like they glamorize it. It's almost acceptable, and it's like a nostalgic feeling to it. Like, yay, we're not really trying to cure or find a healing thing. It's like, yay, this is what it is. Let's just face it. It's really depressing. Like, it was just, I stay away from that. So when I read it kind of really dampers everything. It's like they're not really trying to find a cure.
Right. And everybody does end up running around in pink trim, trimmings on your shoes, pink, and I'm like, well, why are we wearing this thing? And so because of that, I just, I remember a couple of years ago, I was looking for to buy, because I hike a lot, and I was trying to buy more on the hiking shoes again, and the ones I wanted, it was actually the toe shoes, and they only had the ones that had, like, in my size, that had this pink trimming, and my honey was with me, and I was like, no way, I'm not wearing anything that has pink in it, and so I was like, forget it, just wear the ones I have till they bring in some other ones, and so I felt like we were also being forced into pink as well, on so many things. They, like, pink got hijacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's funny.
I just refuse to deal with the whole, pink thing at all. Because every time I see pink, that's what I think.
Yeah, like you say, it's like a coding. It's like a trigger. You already automatically assume, relate that to that. No, yeah, that's really interesting. It's the same thing like when, I don't know what they do for the yellow ribbon. I think it's for when someone's missing or there's a death of certain kind.
There's tons of ribbons.
Yeah.
Ribbon for, like, everything. And it's all just codes. It's all, it's really something else. That's the only thing I can keep saying when I look on at how gullible I think we are as human beings. And of course, because we're so pliable as well, we tend to seem like we're a bit more easily molded and shaped and moved into directions that we completely are unaware of, that we're being moved into. And so you look on at that, how easily we move into it. And if you read the article, I don't know if you remember that part where I was talking about the colors, the fact that boys color used to be pink for boys and blue for girls. And how we all now, if I hadn't looked into some things and saw that, you and I, because we were born after they changed it, who changed it? You know what I mean? Then you start looking at who is changing this stuff. And it's changed, and I would have never thought about it for a minute. I just automatically know pink is for girls and blue's for boys. I was never a pink person anyway. Pink girl. I'm not a frilly girl.
Yeah.
But, but you automatically think that.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have been the wiser. So you would just go on to your life just without thought, without questioning that that's the way it is. Pink is for girls and blue's for boys. Not realizing that at one point it was the reverse and somebody changed it, and this is exactly how everything else goes. Some things get changed, we do not notice, and that's why it's called gradualism. You don't boil the frog in hot water and drop him in hot water. You gradually turn the heat up and so on till it's hot. Well, it's just the same situation, and we just don't notice. So 50 years from now, the generation that comes, just like we were born into, pink is for girls and blue is for boys, they will not know that there was a time where this was not the norm.
Yeah.
Cancer or women getting breast cancer or having breasts removed was not the norm. It will be acceptable. And this is how it all becomes gradual acceptance all across the board with a great many things.
Yeah. And don't you think that's people are not questioning, the reason behind these things, just taking it at face value?
Right. Well, that's just it, though. That's what I'm saying. We would not have thought about the color thing. I'm using that because it's so simple.
Yeah.
But would you have? I didn't really think about it. You see pink used for girls and you see blue used for boys. Would you have stopped and said, oh, geez, I wonder, was that always that way? Very seldom, are you checking that. You just take it at face value and you move on. And when you buy for babies and you find out that they're having a boy, you automatically go buy something blue.
Yeah.
Or yellow for in between, or pink if it's a girl. That is just automatic that we do that. We all have done it without thought. And then the reasons for the color was even interesting because of the pink for boys had to, it had to do with the blood, and blood of course has to do with war and fighting. So that was really the association. At the time, it was like more strength, warrior like. But then I wondered why they used it. I'm like, okay, well then they use it for breast cancer now. And then I started doing a little research, and I can't remember specifically now because you can read the article though. And then I started looking at the blood in terms of, what's missing, where we need to be in terms of red or white blood cells, and that the pinkish was actually, if I remember correctly, more the stage that one moves into in terms of breast cancer. I mean, so there was this underlying kind of coding thing going on across the board with why pink? Why pink for that? So everything is got some underlying thing going on to it. It's not random.
Yeah. I know that when I read that article, I started to question a lot of the things, not just simple colors, but just things that, I've participated in and be like, okay, now what's another thing that they've been kind of sending hidden messages and everything. So that opened my eyes to not really accepting something at face value, to question more and see the history behind it. So that was very impactful. So I like that. I really enjoyed it. We dived straight in, Sonia, but for some of the viewers that don't know what you're about, could you just briefly kind of give us your journey of, how you started and how you stopped at, like, where you at now? Like, what was that journey like for you?
You're talking the journey of questioning or the journey of which part of the journey?
Just your own personal journey, how you came about to be in this field and questioning and discovering certain things that your normal average folks don't really think about. Just how that started for you. When did you started to kind of I guess get enlightened or what have you?
Well, I always question things. I mean, as far back as I can remember in terms of thinking, having memories as a child, I always questioned things. I questioned things that perhaps might seem very big for a child to question. So I have always questioned things. As a child, I don't know if anybody out there maybe have heard other interviews that I've done, but as a child, I questioned the idea of death. Just to give you an example, I questioned that whole concept. I questioned why people died and that nobody seemed to wonder why, or if it was something that was necessary. And then you're talking as a very small child. So that just gives you an idea as to how I've always questioned things. And as a teenager, I was curious about the Bermuda Triangle and reading, Edgar Casey's stuff, and I've always been like that. I've always questioned, and of course, as you go along, you start asking even bigger questions. So around 32, I started to ask even bigger questions, simply based on my own life and my experiences in my life. I needed to understand more about life and the whole idea of life and living and experiencing, and wanted to kind of get a feel for, what was this all leading to? What is the purpose? Is there anything behind the scenes that, what's in the backdrop of all of this? People used to say, if I just read your Bible, and I just always thought that was always such a cop-out, because they just go read your Bible, and then you figure, you're like, and then what? Read your Bible, okay, and then what?
Yeah.
Because they don't follow it up with anything else, just read your Bible. So for me, and I did, because I grew up in church. So I still have my Bible here, the very same Bible that I went through, and when I really started to get into this deeper level of questioning, I just wanted to see if there's anything that I missed, or anything that just I could decode or put pieces together, and that's really kind of what I was doing. And then I stopped, I remember I read Masters of the Far East, and I read Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb and Dancing in the Light. Now, this is before I knew the word metaphysics, quantum physics, or knew that there were people out there, maybe questioning on that level. And so I just kind of, after that, I put everything away because I just figured, there's got to be a way to get this information without it coming from a book. And I just set out to just try to see how we were networked, let's say, into something greater. How were we wired into something greater that seems to support the existence of everything? And and that's what I ended up doing. Basically, it started with meditation. Meditation was an extremely powerful thing for me. Again, I had to learn to meditate on my own. It was something I wasn't familiar with because I knew about praying, but I didn't know about meditation. So on my own, I had to discover, what that was and how to break through into having a deeper kind of experience that would show me or take me, just into a whole other level of understanding what I do now, what I do today. And that's been over 20 years. It's been a little while now.
Wow. That I could resonate with you as a child because I grew up Catholic, and you don't question anything.
Right.
You just take it. It's because it is what it is. So I learned to look within, and I watched a lot of TV, which wasn't really good, but I always questioned, and I always sat in the churches and kind of like, okay, why is this way? Why is that way? So but I was never able to question my grandmother. So that was like a no-no. Like, you just kept it to yourself, and you ask other people that it's going to, entertain you with their answers.
Like the minister, but you don't,
Yeah.
You don't, because it's like sacrilege. I mean, it's like you could burn in hell's fire for questioning God. You say, oh my God, you're questioning God. Oh no. And and the older folks are more like, they're more worried about going to hell. So it's pretty wild. Yeah.
So that's kind of, it kind of mirrors, kind of like my journey, because I've always questioned everything too, but I just kind of kept a journal of it. Didn't have that someone to be like, yeah, this is the way it is. And I read a lot of books and still doing it. So I was never comfortable with what was given to me. It's like, okay, why is it this way?
Yeah, that's good that you weren't comfortable.
Yeah, I always felt kind of strange. So, and that's why I feel like I've attracted, certain information that's come to me, because I'm always looking to find the answers or look for something different, that gets me thinking. You know what I mean? That gets me out of my comfort zone. So, and that's what I kind of admire about you. It's like you kind of pushing the envelope. When I read that article, it's like, okay, there's a voice out there that knows what I'm thinking. Who is she? How did she get in my head?
Oh my God! You're like, this crazy person out there.
Yes, we're thinking along the same line. But when you started to do this work, I always ask of my guests, you have the family that you grew up into, and you have your friends. Did you end up losing some of them, or did you get criticism, or some comments?
No, and the only reason for that is because my situation, my parents that raised me passed on, and I don't think that they would have, though. And then I was on my own. I was with, let's see. Yeah, because after I got divorced, it was really when all this started. But I didn't really have a whole lot of friends, and that was a good portion due to the marriage situation I was in for 14 years, I didn't want people to really know what we were dealing with, my kids and I, so I just minimized friends. So after that, I was on my own with the spiritual stuff, the learning, the growing, more so for 10 years by myself. What would happen is I would encounter maybe new people, and as I go along the road, and then they would fall away because they would give to me, I would say, what I needed then. I would learn something from them, and then they would stay where they are, but I was so hungry to keep going that I would just keep going and digging, and they would stay right where they are with their concepts. So that's what would happen. However, as I went along, there was family that they didn't speak to me for about that time, for 10 years. So what happened was, as I went through this metamorphosis, one day I just woke up and I felt so cleansed. I felt so incredibly just great in terms of what I understand and what I was knowing, and I decided to try to find these people. There were like 2-3 people that were really the strong part of the family that was left, and I decided I would try to find them. And I remember at the time contacting one other person. How did it go? I think I contacted them, which they weren't really talking to me either, because they followed the matriarch, the person who originally wasn't talking to me. So here I was, like all by myself. But I did get a hold of them. I remember even the operator, because it was so far long ago, the operator had to cut in because the number was not listed, to get a hold of one person, to get that person, to get the other person to call me. And basically what it was is I wanted to tell them that whatever I did, and I really hadn't done anything per se, but whatever I did to anger them, to forgive me. And I just needed to do that. I needed to not have anything hanging out there. And I knew this. Somehow I knew that in order for me to keep going into like this whatever next new level of information, I didn't want anything hanging. I didn't want any baggage. I just didn't want any of that. So I just wanted to clear things with the people that I figured, if anything, it would be them, even though I wasn't mad at them. But they weren't speaking to me. So I went ahead and I contacted them, and I told them how I felt, and and they were ready, they were open. I apologized. I didn't ask for any apology from them. I asked for nothing. I just needed to be clear. It didn't matter to me whether they said I'm sorry or I was right. It was all about me and me being clear and feeling great. So that's what I did, and it was then that they started coming back into my life, and they lived in a different state, and they decided to come and visit me in California, and they all moved to California.
Wow.
Over the next 2 years, when they heard what I was talking about, the information I was sharing, every time that they would come, they decided they needed to be there. They wanted more of it, and then they moved there. They moved to California. So it was definitely it's definitely been an interesting journey. Definitely been an interesting journey. And sometimes when you're alone, when you're by yourself, and I hear people say, it's such a lonely journey. You know what? Sometimes that's just what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to grow on your own without the influence of other people. And that's why they weren't there for 10 years. Wow. It might seem like it's because they were mad at me, but quite honestly, I needed to grow on my own without the influence of these people. I needed to discover all that I was going to discover during those years without these people. And that's what happened. I was able to do it on my own, and go through all my trials and tribulations and fall, and rise and fall and rise again. Um, was it trial by fire? So yeah, being by yourself sometimes is just what needs to happen. And we always want our tribe and we want people, but when it's appropriate, it's okay to be alone. It's okay. Yeah. You're never really alone, but it's okay to have that moment for growth. And when it is happening, it is okay for it to happen until you get to a certain stage in whatever growth, because this growth periods happen on and on periodically as we go. And then when you shift through one other level of growth, then suddenly you're connecting with people. And then that lasts for a while, and then maybe when it's time for something else, suddenly people start falling away because they no longer fit into where the growth that you're making at this time.
Wow. Yes, that's powerful. That's the process that I'm going through now. That's really powerful because I've always valued alone time and never seeked out, socialization, like you said, when it's appropriate, but it really resonated because that's how I grew up, just being raised like an only child, but always feeling comfortable on my own. And I think people get so scared of like themselves, that they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to find out. Let me call Susie and John. Let's go out somewhere. But that really hit home because I'm kind of relearning that all over again. It's like I'm going back to my childhood and embracing being quiet and being silent. Because it does take that. That's really true. It does take to be on your own and learning to meditate and do things and, you yeah.
I know that you're okay.
Yeah.
It's like you're okay. No, it's like really, no, you're okay. It's like you don't have to have those people there right now because you just don't need them there, right? You just don't need them at this time. Yeah. It's not what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And trust that. Be able to trust that.
Yeah, that's the hardest part because it's like, where is so and so? Like, haven't heard from him or her. It's like, okay, there's a reason why they don't play a part right now in your growth process. So that's good to hear, and I think a lot more people need to hear that and really trust it and believe it. So that's really powerful. Yeah, I was just marinating it while you were saying. I was like, wow, that hits home. That's really true because that's the process,
I know, and it just goes on and on and on, and we're just talking, it's like you're looking for this moment, people tend to look for that moment of enlightenment when, you're just this final analysis of evolution or growth, and it's like, you're always in this growth process, maybe different as you grow along. Maybe you don't go through the same challenging experiences anymore, but we're always moving into a new level of understanding, of awareness, and I don't look for a destination on any of it. I don't look for this final moment of enlightenment. There is no final moment of enlightenment. There is definitely levels of becoming a master and owning your power and discovering who you are and what the possibilities are, and then that gets greater and greater. I mean, as you go along, but certainly just to be free to do that, to be in the now with your expansion is just very powerful.
Yeah, and don't you think that you're seeing a little bit more of it? People are starting to kind of, wake up, quote unquote, like just seeing things differently. And I'm seeing it even in my own family that people are eating differently. They're seeing things differently. They're not putting up with all the unnecessary drama, negativity. Like slowly I'm seeing little shifts here and there.
Yeah, and that's always such a tough one when people ask me that question. Because I'm always like, okay, well, I'm not trying to be the doom and gloom, not by any means, but I think that is so interesting how what we are experiencing in terms of the people that we see, more people waking up, because I'm always looking at, well, that might be happening in our reality, but in the bigger picture, I don't know. But I know that everything that you're experiencing with all the people waking up has to do with you in your reality, in what you've created, and you're shifting.
Yeah.
It's the individual's change and shift that's going to project, what appears to be people changing, but it's just because you're changing that, the characters in your life are either going to change or they're going to go away because they no longer fit into your life, or they're going to stay there and be what they are because you're not done with that experience, the exchange that you're having with them. That's basically it. People are there, and what we do interact with, what we call the world or experience, is always going to somehow benefit the individual in some way. It's the observer effect. It's, you look at quantum physics. But, so that's something I started looking at, is how is that all, working? Is everybody waking up? I don't even know who everybody is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, I won't get too trippy on your audience, but, there's a lot. Let's just put it this way. My mind is really way out there.
No, that makes, when you put it that way, that makes perfect sense. It's like from your perspective, when you expand, then it's like the attraction, and you just see it as if, the whole world is awakening up. No, that's wonderful.
and the whole world is always the only part of the world, the only thing we know about the world directly is the immediate interactions that we have on a moment-to-moment basis. Everything else is information that is fed to us about what the world is. And I don't think people really look at that.
Yeah.
We have no interaction with what the rest of the world is. It's just a concept. The only thing that we know is what is happening in our immediate experience, the people that we're interacting with. Even when you're on the phone, can't see the person, but you're interacting with this essence, and you have an idea of what that person looks like and all of that because you've seen them before, but they're part of your reality. They're part of your landscape still, your brainscape still. But the what we see outside of that is on an external level. That's how we keep the human game going, because yes, somebody tells us what the world should be, what it should look like, how many people should be there on the planet, what's where, images, pictures of everything, videos. Otherwise, you have no idea what anything is. You can't see it all. You can only see what's in your present space.
No, I follow you. I totally resonate. Yeah, that's why I connect, because it's like, okay, sometimes I go off in the deep end. I'm like, woo, I don't know if I should. Oh, yeah.
It's trippy, and some people would go, okay, well, that's just way too much.
Not for me. I love it. I get it. I get it.
It is. It's so trippy, and if people were to allow themselves to really stretch their minds, I think for some people they feel a little freaked out because they feel that they might feel like there's change coming and they have no control, because they're going to find out that the foundation that you built your reality on, you're going to see what it's really based on.
Yeah.
And once we start to see more of behind the scenes, your life does begin to change, because currently everybody's life is built on what you understood when you understood it, and as that understanding evolves and changes, then everything else has to shift.
Yeah.
Because the foundation is going to change based on the new information that you have. In one way or another, it's going to change, and that's why people get so scared of change. Get scared of the unknown.
Yeah.
But I think it's freeing. When you are in that space, you get used to it. The first time it did trip me out with some of the questions that I was asking. I thought, whoa, that, and the answers that I was seeing in my mind as to, wow, none of this is like I thought. That did freak me out a little bit some time ago, and I had to go, okay, well, I don't want to think about that for about a couple days. And I didn't. I was like, even the whole religious thing with Jesus and all of that. And I thought, oh my, okay, I can't think about it. This is freaking me out because now I'm like, so basically, you're out there, you are it. There is no God in the sense of how you were taught.
Yeah.
And that could freak somebody out because that's a real big crutch.
Mm-hmm.
When in church and they say, oh, let go and let God, or just turn it over to the Lord, or God says, and people get freaked out if you go, well, exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly what are you, who are you referring to? People don't want to hear that because then it puts the responsibility back on the individual. You're not leaning on Jesus. There's nobody coming to save you in that sense. It totally can be a game changer and freak somebody out. And I'm just saying it because I get it.
Yeah.
I had to sit on it for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Then I was just like, oh my God, so you mean that I am really totally responsible for myself?
Uh-huh.
And if everything is God, that means, however we're viewing God, if everything is God, then that would be you as well. That everything is the ultimate source that exists, with reflecting or appearing as, you, me, or the concept of separatism or fracturization or whatever. It's all the same essence. Anyway, but that could go into so many more avenues. But the point is, it's that owning who we are and being responsible for ourselves that freaks people out.
Yeah, the whole illusion of separation, us being separate, and like you said, people don't want to take responsibility for their own well-being, whether it be emotionally, physically, spiritually. It's like, no, we're going to leave it to some outside source.
Yeah, let's not worry about that. Let's turn it over to the Lord or Jesus or minister or government. It's the same thing, or government or whatever. It's just let somebody else take care of it because I can't take care of it. And then in church, you're taught, I'm not worthy. We're not capable. We don't know what's good for us. And it's not just in church. Now we come along and the government tells us that you're not capable. You're not worthy. You do not know what's good for you. We have to make the decisions for you. Then you go into the work world when the management corporations say, we know what's best for you. You don't know. I mean, and it just goes on and on and on. And then your parents, they will also tell you that from the get-go is that you do not know what's best for you. So we are going to, which is their job, is to guide you.
Yeah.
But we hear that all along until the point where the information that we have, that we go out into the world with, is mainly a set of, like a computer, a set of programs, a set of information embedded into you, and you then think that all of that information is just really, your own pure, free, whatever thought, but you end up then making choices that you feel are your true own choices based on that information. Because what are you going to pull from? You're going to draw from the information that was already embedded in you. Yeah. Money doesn't grow on trees. Just things like that. You gotta have a good education, or you're not going to make anything of yourself. So you're not going to make anything of yourself, and you go through life not being able to, sometimes some people do, to make anything of themselves because they never went to college. And they'll tell you that. Well, I didn't go to college. And then you have people that actually break through that, and even though they hadn't gone to college, they managed to do something, but that tape still plays. Yeah. So it's amazing. We need to pay attention to what we say to our children.
Yes, and I have a teenage boy, and I always tell people that he is my greatest inspiration, and he's teaching me how to let go of some things and just follow your gut and your passion and everything, because it's all about guidance, but not really putting those, limiting thoughts, I say, in him. So,
Right.
and I get a lot of backlash for it, but it's like, this is my child. This is,
I know.
yeah, so you can relate. He's an individual, and, I am just gonna be an observer and keep him from getting killed.
Right. Yeah, and you do, and you guide him the best that you can. And my sons talk about it, all the time. It's like, yeah, Mom, I know a lot of people thought you were just you gave us too much freedom. But look at us now, because the people that used to complain, and they remind me, they end up having so many problems with their children, and I ended up not having that, but yet very close to my sons. We had to be really close, and so you hold on too tight.
Yes.
That's stifling too. You're trying to completely restrict them and force them into lying to you, and force them into not feeling like they can trust you, and just a lot of things. So my approach to raising them, was a little different. It was a little different, because I wanted to know what they were doing. So my house was open, and I allowed a lot of kids to be there, because it allowed me to know where they were into their teenage years. I allowed them to be there. They could have parties, because I knew where they were. They were going to drink. I knew what they were doing, where they were, for the most part. I'm not saying every waking moment, but for the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the way I did it, and my kids didn't really feel like they had to do a lot of sneaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a freeing thing, because we have this trust issue between my son, that when I tell my peers and stuff, they're like, what? Like, how does that happen? I'm like, you just benefit of the doubt. You just have to build that. So that's a beautiful thing to have that, and they don't have to. They tell you, hey, I'm going to be this place, and this is what happened. So
sometimes it's too much. Sometimes you tell way more information than you even want to hear, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is just way more information. I didn't want to know all this, but you don't want to shut them down, so you just gotta listen. I'm like, oh my God.
I know, I've had those moments. I'll be like, well, isn't this cute? I'll let them do it.
It's like, wow, okay.
Oh, gosh. Oh, I know I can go on and on with you, but your time is precious. And we have 8 minutes, and I always like to leave with some practical information for viewers out there, for those who really want to start, being responsible for themselves and taking control of their lives. What are some practical things they can start doing to start their process?
Well, I say, I always tell people, just the first thing you do is examine your life. Examine where you are right now. Examine your joy. Examine how happy you are. Examine what your priorities are. What are you, prioritizing? Is it stuff? Are you, stressing yourself out because you're trying to live up to a certain expectation, maybe whose expectations. I mean, just all of those things. What's your health like? Are you feeling stress every day from the job that you're doing? Okay, and if that is the case, why are you still there? Tell yourself, just be honest with yourself every step of the way. And it's not about blaming yourself. This is not about blame. This is about just being honest with yourself. It's like like we were saying with our children, it's like having your child or your best friend sit down and tell you, this is really how I've been feeling. Well, yourself wants to hear this. It wants you to just go ahead and lay it all out, so that different choices can be made. You can be open and then allowing, and then say to yourself, you know what? I am ready for change. And when you say that to yourself, it's not controlled change, because that's the other thing. Don't try to control the change, but rather know that when you say that, you are saying it because you're saying to yourself, I trust the more expansive part of myself to direct me into making the choices that are really going to be in my best interest. And you've got to trust that. So that's what I say. You got to start with yourself. I can tell you all kinds of other stuff, but you know what? In the end, it always comes back to the individual, to you, and being truthful to yourself.
Yes, it starts with the individual. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Oh, this is wonderful. So I like to end on a high, and I always end with like finishing the sentence type of deal. I got this great idea from Brother All Smart. So, would you like to play? 4 quick snippets, whatever comes to your mind.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, you ready?
Okay, so we're just what, saying whatever comes to our mind?
I say a sentence and you finish it.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's finishing a statement. So I'll start easy. Beach or the lake?
Ocean. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Love is.
Everything.
Okay. If I could give one thing to the world, it would be.
God, I just went blank on it. If I could, what comes to mind is freedom. So I'll just go with that because that's the word that comes to my mind.
Okay. My greatest joy would be.
I don't know why, but somehow my children popped into my head, so.
Okay. They would be like, yes, Mom, we should be. Oh, thank you so much, Sonia. I've been smiling from like year to year, and I got a cheek workout. This has been such a high energy conversation.
Yeah, it was. It was a great conversation. Really, really good.
I loved it. I'm so grateful. So let's do it again when you're less settled, but more settled. If that ever happens.
Yeah, it does on occasion. It's just right now. It's just stuff, just all the stuff. But
yeah,
it's good.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. So thanks for gracing your presence with us, and I look forward to talking again soon. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Have an incredible upcoming week.
Yes, I will. You too.
All right, take care.
All right, peace.
All right.